Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas. Craig Burley, Shaq Hislop and Stevie Nicol alongside me. Julian Laurent will be with us shortly as we'll be looking ahead to Manchester City's clash with Monaco in the Champions League. But we start off at Sutton United, a non-league team taking on the mighty Arsenal in the fifth round of the FA Cup. This is a team that currently sit
Hold on, did you
say
Arsenal?
The mighty Arsenal.
Stop it.
They were playing on an artificial pitch. A lot was made, certainly, with regards to the romance of the cup going into this match. It would be Arsenal, though, who would finally break the deadlock in the 26th minute. Lucas Perez with a goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice ball across. I don't think Perez is trying to score here. He's just trying to put it in a dangerous area. Plenty of pace on it. Walcott dupes the goalkeeper and it goes in the bottom corner.
Now, Sutton United did have chances. This is one of the best of them in the first half. Ospina with a strange old clearance that went straight to May, who just panicked slightly.
Oh,
You think?
I'm really not sure what Ospina is thinking here. He gets his ball, that's going nowhere but to the striker. It makes absolutely no sense. The more I look at it, the more confused I am about it. Whatever happened to just playing with a bit of caution?
Well, 10 minutes into the second half, Arsenal would make it 2-0. Nacho Monreal with the ball across. It was quite a strong side that Arsenal put out.
No, he did, and he didn't want to be embarrassed, and it would have been an embarrassment. But put a strong team out, and you know, I don't really think the result was ever in any doubt.
Rory Deacon, though, almost gave the home fans something to cheer about. Take a look at this. Ooh. Ospina beaten off the crossbar.
A nice strike. Just sits up nicely there off the turf. Ospina completely gone.
Now that's Wayne Shaw, that's the
Speaking of
reserve
gone,
goalkeeper. There he is, eating a pie in the second half on the bench. It finishes Sutton United 0. That's it. Wash it down with some water. Arsenal 2. That lines things up then for Arsenal with the quarter-finals against Lincoln City, another team in the non-league, in the fifth tier of English football. It was fun today, wasn't it, boys? You know, we've mocked the FA Cup quite a lot, but isn't this what it's about?
fun. What was fun about it?
Well, you just seeing the...
It was absolutely inevitable from the start of the game. So, well, nothing really fun about watching a game when you know what the outcome's going to be.
No romance.
And there's nothing fun, by the way, about watching a goalkeeper standing on the sidelines eating a pie. What's fun about that?
Yeah, just because you're jealous.
I mean, it just
Made him hungry.
Honestly, it makes a mockery of
hungry.
professional footballer when you've got a player, because he's a player, if the goalie had been injured, he would have to go on, eating a pie on the bench. Come on.
But that is going to be the image that's going to be broadcast around the world.
That's not the image.
He's going to be in one of these celebrity TV
exactly.
shows in Britain. I'll guarantee it. He might make a few quid out of that.
Dancing with the Stars.
Good luck to
Watch
you.
out for those toes.
I don't think he'll be doing that. But look, this game was a snooze fest. The big story was Sutton getting there. They draw Arsenal of the Premier League. Would have been the biggest giant killing probably ever in the FA Cup. Big crowd. They've earned a few quid. The players have had a great experience. And that's the end.
OK, what about bigger picture from what we saw this weekend? Because a lot of people are saying, well, look, this has brought back the magic because of what Lincoln City did against, who did they beat? Burnley, that was it. I forgot.
Well, it's magic for these...
Magic.
Memorable.
No, let's be honest, it's magic for these smaller towns, small town clubs. It is magic for them. But do you think it really matters to Burnley? It would matter to me, but I'm questioning now that the Premier League players at that level, I don't really think it matters to them
It's not just the Premier League players. It matters to Lincoln, but I made the point in yesterday's show. Huddersfield made 7 changes against Manchester City. OK, they get the draw, they get the replay, but it doesn't matter to them whether they're in or out either. So it's not just the Premier League clubs who are playing fringe players without a care as to whether they go through to the next round. It's even championship teams that are doing it now, which I think takes away from the romance of the Cup.
I would love to know if Burnley's players, how embarrassed they were, or if they were embarrassed. Because to lose to a non-league club, and you're a Premier League club, is a complete and utter embarrassment. I would love to know and talk to a Burnley player and actually see how he feels, whether he's, well, we want to stay in the Premier League, or whether he's going to hide his head because he's ashamed of himself.
Julien Laurent is with us. From a Frenchman's point of view, from an outsider from England, Julien, did you get involved? Did you feel the romance this weekend?
I like the fact that Lincoln won. I have to say, I thought it was great and a bit refreshing to see them going to Burnley and having a good go at it. Matt Reed, their centre forward, I fell in love with the guy. I mean, his hair is ridiculous, but he's got a beer belly as big as Stevie Nichol's one. But he fights for everything. You know, he goes in the air, he wins everything, and he's a proper handful. Do you know what I mean? But it's a handful, and it's a beauty. You know, it's a beauty to see those kind of players still making it to the quarterfinals. It's incredible.
You know, the thing is, you don't remember back as a player. If you finished, what do you have to finish? 17th in the Premier League to avoid relegation. If you do that 2 or 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, finish, bottom half to 17th, you don't look back and remember that really as a player. But if you get to Wembley, as the boys will tell you, or you get to an FA Cup final once, get there twice, maybe more, you play in the semi-finals, you take that atmosphere in, you remember those. When you're sitting here our age, or maybe even Stevie's age, then you remember back to FA Cup and the stories that go around it. And that's the big problem now. It's just about staying in this Premier League. You know, that's for these players these days, they deem that success.
I'm going to ask the question.
What?
Arsenal got a nice draw. Lincoln City quarter-finals. Chelsea and United, one will knock each other out. You look at it, Arsenal got a good chance of winning the FA Cup. Is that enough?
You're asking that.
Is that enough?
Of course it is.
You're asking that.
Of course it is.
You're asking that because you know you don't want to ask it. But it's a really quiet weekend, and it's FA Cup, and the Champions League's not till tomorrow.
Is it enough to keep Arsene Wenger his job?
No.
I'm
sorry, I don't think
always
so.
been enough before, so why wouldn't it be enough this time? They don't win the Premier League. At least you got the top 4. They get knocked out of the Champions League, but they win the FA Cup. Come on, next season. Can't wait for Arsene Wenger.
3 years ago, they won the FA Cup. I said, Arsene Wenger, now's the time to step down on a high. Don't be shoved out to the door. You know Arsene Wenger, he's not going quietly. He kept on. I hope they win it, and I hope he steps down.
Oh, you hope they win it?
Well, that would be a good scenario.
I would like to see Arsene Wenger go out on a high, given everything he's given, not just Arsenal but football. I'd like to see him go out on a high.
I agree with that.
I'd like to see him go out on a high, and I think it's time for him to go. So win the FA Cup, go out on a high. Well done, Arsenal.
Well, we always knew you're anti-United, Shaq. Last one on you, Julien. From you on this, Julien.
I've said it before, I think he will still be there next season, probably even more if he wins the FA Cup. There's no doubt in my head that he's got a contract there, he waits a little bit, and like Stevie said, they're going to finish top 4, win the FA Cup maybe, go out of the Champions League in the last 16, like the last 6 years in the Champions League, and that would be enough for him, and we still think he can take this club forward.
Speaking of Champions League, of course, that will dominate the discussion on the next edition of ESPN FC. We'll be looking back at Bayer against Atleti, plus Manchester City versus Monaco. Welcome back. More Champions League action tomorrow. Manchester City taking on Monaco. According to our much maligned SPI, Manchester City 68% favourites to advance to the next round. Let's not forget, though, Monaco come into this clash top of Ligue 1, already having beaten Tottenham twice in the group stages. Julien Laurent still with us. Julien, have Monaco done this?
Well, they've been outstanding all season. From the team that was more defensive, if you want, in the last couple of years under Leonardo Jardim, they've transformed into a very, very attacking team. They've scored 108 goals in all competition this season, 76 in 26 league matches, and their 4-4-2 is just working very well from the 2 wingers and the 2 defensive midfielders in midfield and the 2 up front, Germain and Falcao. And I think Jardim has found the perfect tactical system for the squad he has, and they'll be very dangerous against City.
You mentioned Falcao. Many had pretty much written his career off after that injury and that dreadful spell at Manchester United. Is he back to peak Falcao?
Oh, he is. There's no doubt. I mean, the sense of goal, he never lost it. He's the kind of player that never loses that. But physically, obviously, the 2 seasons at Chelsea and United have been dreadful for him between the injuries and between the time that he never played. And I think mentally as well, I think there was a lot of damage done by the 2 seasons. I think Monaco instead of, I don't know, China or anywhere else really in Europe, Monaco was the perfect place for him because there's not much pressure on him, and he had plenty of time to get back to that full fitness physically and mentally as well. And once that was back, then the goals followed. And the goals flooded as well because he scored so many, over 20 already in all competition this season. And that 4-4-2 is perfect for him because Germain, who plays up front with him, is the most unselfish player you would find and plays everything Germain does is for Falcao, which is the perfect situation for Falcao, especially after those 2 years we talked about.
You've got Falcao, then Julian is very much the established striker, well known. You've also got this youngster Mbappe coming through. We saw Thierry Henry talking about him this week, saying that he could be something really special.
Yeah, I think he comes from another planet. He just turned 18 in December. He already had a hat-trick in Ligue 1. He became Monaco's youngest ever player to play in Ligue 1. Overtaking Thierry Henry in the records book. He became Monaco's youngest ever player to score in Ligue 1, overtaking Thierry Henry as well. And I really think he's better than Thierry was at the same age. No, I really do. And he will be on the bench on Tuesday, tomorrow against City because he's been a super sub for them, really. He could probably start and do a good job, but coming off the bench with 25, 30 minutes to go, he's just so quick and so strong and so powerful, and he makes things happen that he becomes a danger for the opposition as well. Every time he's got 7 goals and 5 assists already in the French top flight. He's just an incredible talent, and funnily enough, City tried to buy him last summer. They had a 40 million euro bid rejected by Monaco. Monaco didn't want to let him go, and they also know that they will sell him for far more money than that very soon.
Meanwhile, boys, Manchester City, Shaq, you've been banging the drum that they've much improved, that they look like they've turned a corner. But this is a real proper test. It's a proper match now, isn't it, for Pep Guardiola's side? We're going to see how far they've come.
Without question, and I still think we've seen the worst of Manchester City. When they were poor,
they lost against Leicester.
Yeah, when they were poor, they were really, really poor, and they had to turn the corner at some point. You thought it was the introduction of Gabriel Jesus, maybe gave them that spur. I thought the younger front four, if you want to call it that, if you included 3 midfielders, I just thought suited City and Pep Guardiola's style. Now, of course, Kun Aguero coming back in, like for like swap. That is all about the relationship between Pep Guardiola and Kun Aguero. I see no real issue there. But this is City, not back to their best, not the early season form, but I think showing enough to beat Monaco and get through over 2 legs.
Have you seen enough from City?
No. I find it difficult to make an argument for a team at this stage of the Champions League against a very good French team with such a dishevelled back four. We don't know what Guardiola's going to do. We don't know what the system's going to be. We don't know what the personnel's going to be. And then we don't know how that personnel is going to perform because they are so unpredictable and they've been so poor at times this season. I find it difficult to make an argument for them over the 2 legs, especially how well drilled this Monaco side is, how much they can organise themselves defensively, and then they're a threat going forward. I can't see City keeping a clean sheet. I just can't see it.
Where do you stand on City?
I'm with Craig. I think too many people are going to underestimate Monaco. They've already beaten a team who we all thought a couple of weeks ago were the only side in Spurs that could challenge to win the Premier League, and they comfortably beat them over 2 legs. So why all of a sudden are Manchester City 68% favourites?
Yeah.
I just don't get that. And if they underestimate Monaco, they're in trouble.
Now, Pep Guardiola is speaking a lot today. You talk about underestimating the team. How much of a difference does it make if a coach says to you, don't underestimate this team? Is it already kind of implanted in you? You look at it and you think, it's only Monaco, we'll be fine.
I think that only works if you've got a great team that knows it's a great team. But Craig pointed out where the problems for City are. They're horrible defensively, and that's where they're going to get caught out. Going forward with Silva and Sterling and Aguero, we know what they're capable of. But when you've got a back line that's in such a shambles, regardless of what you say to them about being prepared and not underestimating the opposition, if you're bad regardless.
Are we going to be sat here on Thursday once again questioning Guardiola?
No, he's got.
Well, he's got time. Of course, he's got lots of money in the bank there. This is the guy that they chased.
Yeah,
they wanted for a long time. There's nothing going to happen. even if it's embarrassing over 2 legs, there's nothing going to happen apart from the fact he'll just demand a complete makeover of this squad and he'll want it on his terms. Do I think we'll be talking about Monaco beating them 3 or 4 in Manchester? No, I don't. But I do think Monaco will win.
OK, Monaco. You're going Monaco, Stevie.
All right.
Shaka?
City.
Julian, it's pointless asking you, isn't it? Who are you backing?
Yeah, Monaco.
Of course, thanks. Coming up after the break, we'll be talking about Mario Balotelli, who got 1 out of 10 in the newspaper rating after seeing his 3rd red card of the season.
Hi, this is Maury Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Yes, while Geico could help you rack up more moolah faster than you can say metamorphosis, they've also been the fastest growing auto insurer for more than 10 years. That's more like it. Furthermore, Geico has fast and friendly claim service. That might seem like an oxymoron, but it's not. All the more reason to say no other auto insurer has more than Geico. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Welcome back. It was set up to be the perfect weekend for PSG. Monaco dropped points with a draw against Bastia. Unai Emery's side were then in action on Sunday against Toulouse. Heavy favourites going into the game, but they can only manage a 0-0 draw, meaning that 3 points still separate the top 2 in France. Julian, how does this happen? How do you be so good and so impressive against Barcelona, thrashing them 4-0, playing them off the park, and then unable to beat Toulouse?
Yeah, it was really flat on Sunday, I have to say. It looked like the players were still celebrating in the dressing room on Tuesday night after the win, and they had enough chances to win the game, but they found it really hard to break down the 4-5-1 formation that Toulouse were playing. Toulouse defended really well, I have to say. Issa Diop, one of the most promising young French defenders, was impressive at the back, and PSG really missed Di Maria, who was out of the game and was in the stands, and yeah, they never really got going, and it's a huge shame, as you said, because it was a big opportunity to close that gap to 1 point with Monaco, and it's a big chance missed, really.
Meanwhile, talking about big chances missed, Mario Balotelli, Julian, who received 1 out of 10 in L'Équipe, the big sports newspaper in France, who doesn't just give these out willy-nilly. There's only been, 10 before this since 1998. Was he really that bad?
He really was that bad. It was that poor. And it's a shame because, do you remember at the start of the season, he scored 8 in his first 8 league matches, 2 against Monaco, 2 against Marseille, for example. And it looked like he turned a corner finally, that he matured, that he realised that talent was not everything, that you need the right attitude as well to go with the talent. And since that, he went pear-shaped. He scored 1 in his last 6 league matches. He had 2 red cards in those last 6, so more red cards than goals, which is incredible. And it's not so much the red cards, I think, it's the lack of effort. You know, the guy's doing nothing. On the pitch, he doesn't defend, he doesn't try back, he doesn't even much more attacking. And he was dropped from the team because Lucien Favre, the manager there, was saying, like, listen, mate, you're not doing enough. And he only came back in the team because Alassane Plea, the striker, who is better than Balotelli this season, got injured and has actually been ruled out for the rest of the season. So that was the big chance for Mario to actually redeem himself, if you want, and show that he could actually give a bit more to the team because they need him. They need him badly now. And what did he do? He got sent off.
Hello, I'm Mario Balotelli's agent. Hello? Oh, the line seems to have gone dead. I mean,
is there anything you could do?
I mean, he's a waster. He's what I would call a waster. Somebody who clearly has got talent, has got ability, coming through as a youngster, was shown it, is at the prime of his career, but he's a total waste of talent. And he's not the only one. There's been lots of those. People with lots of ability, and for one reason or another, they just can't quite screw the head, and he's in the number 1 category.
It's called not taking responsibility. That's all it is. That's what it boils down to. He's never once ever taken any responsibility. He's had everything handed to him on a plate since he was a kid, and this is what happens when somebody like him, well, ends up like this. I mean, he needs treatment.
Yeah. Look at Zlatan. Right. I'm not saying he's as good a player as Zlatan, but 2 guys with a different talent.
Yeah.
Right? But a talent. Ibrahimovic in the mid-30s is carrying one of the biggest clubs in Europe, Man United. Not because he's got a skill, but because for all these years, like him or loathe him, ego or not, he's looked after himself. He's fit, he applies himself properly during the week. In general, he lives his life properly, and 99% of the time on the field, he does the business for his manager. There's the difference. That's a big difference. One guy just can't even screw his head from week to week. He's a waste of talent.
Do you know, I said it's irresponsible. But does he have any pride in himself? I mean, most professionals, regardless of what level you're at, you have a certain amount of pride in your performance, and every time you step on the field, you try and give your best. So he clearly doesn't have that either.
Is he done at Nice? Is it got to that stage, Julian?
So he signed a one-year deal, so they were hoping to keep him at the end. And because he started so well, I really think that they thought, well, we've done the same as we did with Ben Arfa, for example, who arrived at the club, lower from the lowest, if you want. And they resurrected his career, and they really thought Balotelli would follow the same path as Ben Arfa, and then maybe he would leave at the end of the season because a bigger club would come for him. But now, even if no one comes for him, I'm not sure they would want to keep him, because despite that very good start, he's been more liability than anything else in the last 2 months. I mean, when they played PSG at the Parc des Princes before Christmas, he came on for the last 15 minutes. I would have run more than him. He did nothing apart from getting a yellow card. So in that situation, they played with 10 men for the last 15 minutes, and I don't think they want that anymore from him.
Welcome then to Extra Time. Thank you, as always, for your tweets. Yes, a little.
I don't know.
Bit nervous.
Not like you.
What's the strangest activity you've seen on the bench of a football match? It's off the back, of course, of the Sutton United reserve goalkeeper eating a sandwich or pie, whatever it was. Steve, have you seen anything weird?
No, generally I was playing.
When you were coaching?
I was watching the game.
Oh, all right.
And I wouldn't allow anything like that to happen, by the way.
No?
I'm not a fan of that nonsense.
You really didn't find it funny at all?
No. I had a physio. When I came to Boston initially, with the Boston Bulldogs, I had a physio. First game of the season. We had to walk past the concession stands to get to the dressing room. And as we got in the dressing room, he was eating a hamburger. I mean, you talk about it's unprofessional.
All right, sorry.
So as you can imagine, I told him. So.
What did you eat the burger?
Stevie's very private.
In the quiet, aren't
He's very private with his pie eating. Nice to do it in the
public.
solace of his own home.
Shaka,
well,
you spent a bit of time on the bench when you've seen that.
No, I didn't see anything strange.
Well,
So John Hudson go home.
Did you ever fall asleep on the bench?
No.
Knowing how easily you fall asleep on this couch at times?
No. I don't know what you're trying to suggest, Daniel.
So what did you see John Hartson do?
Once he was on the bench, he went home after about 5 minutes in the second half. Just got up and went and had a shower and went home.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
Bad enough.
Wow.
40 minutes to go to the game.
Do you remember at your old club, Sheffield Wednesday, Chrissy Waddle, so for some reason was on the bench, he must have been getting on. And Gaffer told him to go on, the manager told him to go on, and he got stripped. And he forgot his top. So he was steaming up the tunnel to get it. This manager will remain nameless, but I remember a manager turning to the bench and telling one of the subs to get stripped and go on, and the coach reminded him they'd already made 3 substitutions, which most of us found quite funny. Said, Gaffer, you've already made 3.
Brilliant. OK, Julian is still with us. Julian, should Arsenal appoint club legends Bergkamp, Vieira, Henry if Wenger departs, as it worked very well for Barcelona and Madrid?
I don't think either of them is ready. Patrick, maybe Patrick is ready. But
Patrick, is it?
How's he
Julian?
ready?
All right, then.
Hold on. Can you explain that?
Yeah.
How's he ready?
No, but
How's he ready?
at least he's got more experience than the other two. That's what I meant by a bit more ready than Bergkamp and Henry, I think. But what's for sure, however, is they should be in the staff, I think, or at least doing something at the club. I think that's been one of the mistakes by Wenger. Since he's been there, he hasn't found, there was no desire from him to have those players back at the club, which I think is a big shame.
You notice all the ex-players, especially the ones in the media, the Arsenal ones. No, Arsenal shouldn't go. Wenger, no, he shouldn't go. This is a witch hunt. Especially as I'm looking for a job at Arsenal, There's a chance I don't want to upset anybody because I might be looking to get some sort of role there. Am I being cynical?
Not you, Mr. Bird. Who do you like, Julian? Leverkusen or Atleti? We haven't really talked about that game at all.
Atleti. I think Leverkusen would give them a good match, but I think Atleti, and I would love them to maybe finally do it. It's probably the last season of Simeone, probably the end of a cycle at the end of the season, and they've been so close that I would like them to have a final good run at it.
Yeah, Julian, when it's PSG against Atleti in the final, don't give me that rubbish that you want Atleti to win.
In Cardiff.
Yeah.
No, not in that
Cardiff.
case.
It is in Cardiff.
It doesn't get any worse than that, does it?
God, there's worse place than Cardiff in the world.
I didn't say nothing about Cardiff.
What kind of infrastructure have they got?
I've got no idea what you're talking about. I love Welsh people. Fine.
Some of them are my best friends.
I don't go.
Leverkusen or Atleti?
Atleti.
Yeah, Vince. Yeah. All right then. Yeah. Hat-trick.
Hat-trick.
ESPN FC back tomorrow. We'll be discussing that game.
Leverkusen.
And Monaco against Manchester City. 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News.